I'm Megan,
I'm Colin.
and this is
Pet Sitter Confessional,
an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter.
brought to you by Time to Pet. Sometimes the simplest ideas can grow beyond our wildest imaginations. That's exactly what happened to Gricel Arroyo, owner of Arroyo Pet. What started off by doing just nail trims and some home baths for her clients in her community during the pandemic has now reached the point where Gricel is going into it full time. Today, Gricel shares her journey from simple, straightforward idea into how she's managing the growth and what her plans are for the future. Let's get started.
Yeah, thank you so much, Colin. So again, how he said, my name is Gricel Arroyo. I am from the Chicago area, and I am a former veterinary technician and now the proud owner of Arroyo Pet.
Well, so you say former vet tech. How did you get started in the pet care?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've always wanted to start my own business. And I have to admit, COVID kind of pushed me to take that plunge. So during that time, I was working as a former veterinary technician, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. Unfortunately, in that industry, it just doesn't pay very well. So I decided to leave the industry due to financial reasons. But I still had like that empty feeling of, I have that void to be filled. And I went to school for animal sciences. That's what I have my bachelor's degree in. So I was thinking, my passion is still working with animals. I had a great idea of offering nail trim services and at-home baths in the area I was living in during that time. So I honestly started working and offering these services, heading over to clients' homes with face mask protection, gloves, when COVID hit, because, there was a lot of people who were not comfortable with being out in public during that time. And fast forward to now, and I've grown in size. I have over 100 clients, and I've implemented more services such as pet sitting, drop-in visits, dog walking, and grooming now.
Wow. That's amazing. That's really
Thank
cool.
you.
And you said, you mentioned that you had always wanted to start a business. What is it about running your own business and being an entrepreneur that's so attractive to you?
Yeah, I think it's the freedom, the financial freedom, and also I've always liked to be a leader. I've had backgrounds in leadership positions, even in high school up to now in college. That's something that I always loved to do. And if I can implement that in having my own business with animals, I was like, well, this is a great idea because I love what I do. And, being able to start something from nothing to now, it's a great goal for me to achieve. And hopefully planning on leaving my full-time job so that I can run my business full-time.
Oh, that's really cool. It really is a sense of pride in like the good sense of to put your head down at night and know what you were able to do that day and that it was something that you built, right? And I think that that's something that very often we kind of forget to do is just be proud of ourselves whenever we've done a day's work and when we've helped others too.
Yes, that's definitely true. And even then now it's like, that's the motivation right now. Again, because I work a full-time job while I run my business. So it's like, you know what, I'm going to get there. That's the goal for 2022. I know it's going to be a great year. And, I hopefully motivate others to do the same as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's remembering why we did this and being plugged into something bigger. You said that you had a background in vet tech. How does that influence how you run your business and what do you bring to your clients?
Yeah, of course. Being a previous vet tech, it actually allows more doors to open for me. I have specific clients who have those pets that have those specific needs. They're diabetic, asthmatic, anything that requires that medical attention is something that I can provide for my clients. And it also gives me that additional trust with my clients right now and potential clients as well. Having that experience, it's like, well, if you have a pet who needs me to administer any medication or is diabetic and needs an insulin shot, I have my 4.5 years of experience with that. And it makes clients feel more comfortable as well. It's like, okay, they have that peace of mind that I can take care of their pets the way that they're taking care of them at home.
Yeah, it's amazing how many kind of special needs pets are out there when you start looking. And really, when you have that skill set and you start working with them, it feels like they kind of come out of the woodwork and then start finding you because you do have those skills and they talk a lot to each other about recommending services.
Yeah, and it's definitely worked out. It's helped my clients and other potential clients as well. Especially when I can recommend, hey, I've noticed that your pet, they have a little bit of an ear infection, and I know, what to look for. And I would always advise, I'd best to advise with your vet just to make sure there's nothing else going on. So I can at least recommend those things and know those potential signs of, for example, like an ear infection or something else.
Yeah. You said you started out with nail trims and at-home baths. Why did you start with those particular services, and when did you decide it was time to add on others to it?
Yeah. So those were the easiest services that I could think of. Like, I can do nail trims. I've worked at PetSmart previously, and it's something that I've had experience with. Like, I can knock out a nail trim in 5 minutes. And it's like, this is an easy service that clients don't have to drive to either their animal hospital or, let's say, any other pet store. I can come to them, especially during COVID. It's an easy service. We can even do it outside. And I can get it done with no issues. With baths too, that would be something where, we can, hey, I can take care of your dog. I could do it at home. You don't even have to worry about stepping outside. And on top of that, your pet is being, is comfortable in their own environment as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I know for us in our area, all of the grooming salons just totally shut down. And I know in our area, we had a real need for people to come into homes and do the baths, do the nail trims, do the maintenance, because it seemed like once everything opened up, dog salons are still, I feel like, really booked up and backed up, working through this backlog and trying to get people back up. So what I love about that is you recognize the need and you saw your strengths and you went, these match up and I can do this right now. And it's flexible too around the job that you had at the time too.
Yeah. And like you said, even now, a lot of groomers are trying to keep up with demand from COVID, even from last year. And that also integrated my idea of, well, I can offer these mobile grooming services, where I slowly started integrating actual grooming. So instead of doing baths, I was like, well, I can start grooming pets as well. So that's something that I just started in January. And I've so far been just gaining more experience with that too, being transparent with my clients. Hey, I do offer these services, but I do want to let you know, I just started in January. So I don't have much experience, but I would have to say grooms are coming out pretty well, and it's been working out for my clients, especially for the ones that get super anxious. You have those pets that cannot do, 4 or 5 hours in a kennel, or, get super anxious during a car ride and make a huge mess in their owner's car. So that's just a convenience for them.
Well, yeah, and the client isn't having to schedule their time to go drive, drop off, and pick up back in. They can kind of go do their day, and when they come home, the pet is taken care of, and it's kind of just this kind of magical experience. It's giving them an extra feeling that they have is satisfied and peace of mind too.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's been working out great, like I said. And when I do my pet sitting jobs too, it's like, well, if you want your dog to be bathed and groomed, on top of that, you can come home to a clean pet and they're well taken care of.
Yeah. You had, I had seen you write down this where you said you were offering these services to your community and not I'm offering the services to my clients. And I think that's a really interesting distinction for how you think about and approach the people that you're serving. So talk about your community and how you see yourself in it and in giving back to them.
Yeah. And my community actually plays a huge part in the way my business grew, because I actually moved to a new area and I offered these services, and the way that my community welcomed me was amazing. I shared a lot of things through social media, and I joined a lot of community groups, and that, was amazing. Like I said, where everyone was very open to the idea. You start meeting people that just have the best interest for you. You have a good relationship with your community, which allows you to connect with people. And being able to have a word of mouth too. It's like, hey, I've met her. She's great. She's in the area. Well, that also gives that additional trust for new potential clients. And so that's why it's very important with my connection with my community, is because for me to give back to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're viewing yourself as a part of the community, not somebody servicing it, but I am a member of this community. And I think that changes a little bit about how we interact with people, how we speak to people, how we treat our clients as well. When we recognize we're kind of all in this together. So I kind of need to treat others well.
Yeah. And it's been great. It's been such a great experience. And like I said, moving into a new area and meeting all of my community members and everything and everyone else, in the surrounding areas has been great.
Well, so you moved into a new area and you started offering these services. How did you gain traction there and start getting clients? And you kind of mentioned some Facebook groups and word of mouth, but what were those first few steps that you took?
First few steps, I think I went straight to social media. Honestly, I went straight to Facebook. I started joining all these groups, like community groups. And, instead of doing it more of like, hey, these are the services I offer, I introduced myself to my community. It's like, hey, this is who I am. This is my background. And this is what I want to do for you. This is what I can do for you and your pets. And that was just something very important for me because, it's like, I don't want to just push these services. Okay, here, this is what I do. Contact me. It's like, well, I want them to get to know me. It's someone new coming in. They don't know who I am. And I wanted to introduce myself with, everything that I have to offer.
Yeah. I love viewing it as that way. It wasn't my first post. I was making an introduction because we do have to gain trust. We have to gain familiarity and make ourselves a part of that. And we do that through introducing ourselves. I think that language really does help me understand the importance of those first few things that we put out. This is how I'm going to be perceived. This is how I want people to know about me. This is an introduction. It's not sale, like you said. It's a, hi, this is me and my background. Really happy to be here. These are some things that I can help with, and leave it at that. And it's a way to start people going, okay, that's a person behind that. That's not a sales machine or a business. That's somebody that I can now trust and get to know more about.
Right. And I agree with that. And that's what allowed me to gain so many clients right away and have that trust and still be able to build those relationships with anyone who's coming in as a potential client and my current clients now. It's like, it's still very important for me to build those relationships with them.
You started off offering those nail trims and baths as you've expanded to other services. Are you finding ones that are more or less desirable, or people are booking mostly nail trims versus pet sits, or how is that balance working for you?
Yeah, and actually, now that the year is coming to an end, I know one of your podcasts you mentioned a business review, end of the year review. So I was taking a look at that with the type of services that I'm offering and which ones are in high demand. Of course, right now we have everyone traveling. Everyone feels a little bit more comfortable. So there's a high demand in pet sitting. So that's one of the top services that I am offering is pet sitting, and then on top of that, grooming as well. So those are the two that have been working pretty well. And then there's other ones such as dog walking and drop-in visits, a bit less frequent and demand. But for the most part, it's been working out with me offering grooming on top of pet sitting. So, hey, I'm taking care of your pet for a week or two. Do you want me to take care of their nails, or do you want me to get them groomed, bathed, and that way you can, like I said before, come home to a clean pet as well.
Yeah, it is this all-in-one solution. Do you find it's an easy sell to be like, oh, if you're going away for a week, I can also groom, or do people ask for that, or what's that interplay when you're talking with a client?
Yeah. So it's been working pretty well. Especially with my background, it's like, yeah, I've noticed their nails are getting a little long. You want me to take care of it. And it just adds more of that convenience. And that's the biggest thing is, I'm coming back from a vacation or wherever it may be. I don't want to have to deal with taking my dog to the vet or groomers, it's like, might as well take care of it all. And when I offer those services, it's like, oh yeah, if you can, thank you so much. And that's like, perfect. Well, I'm adding that additional convenience to them as well. And if I have everything that I need, I can easily do it at their home.
Yeah. And I think, you mentioned that you're you're learning about the grooming. It's something that you are expanding your skill sets on. I know that adding skill sets can be daunting sometimes of like, oh, I've got to learn this, and this is a big task for me. Was that ever a thought that crossed your mind of like, oh, maybe I can't do this? Or was it just I got to give this a try?
Yeah, I actually started with no grooming. I'm not going to start that at all. It's not something I'm going to do. Not interested in it.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? I started thinking, I worked at PetSmart previously as a bather. I wasn't an actual groomer, but being a vet tech, we were grooming pets. It wasn't for them to look good, right? It was for some health issues or just for any healthy reasons.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to offer these services. And I started small. I started with family members' pets. It's like, hey, can I start practicing on your pet? And I can see where this goes. If this is a yes or a no, like if I did a terrible job, and I don't know if I would want to keep doing this. But actually, the dogs didn't come out as bad as I thought they would be. And it's still a learning experience. I mean, my learning, grooming is nothing easy that I say you can learn overnight. I'm still continuing to learn every single day. But I think, I just more of challenging myself and being transparent with my clients. It's like, okay, I do offer these services, but I do want to let you know I have this amount of time of experience. If that's okay with you, I'd be more than happy to offer that service for your pet. And like I said, most of my clients have been very open and very helpful. They're like, hey, if you want to come and practice on my pet, you can. And I've been super thankful. And, I can't thank my clients more than like with all the opportunities that they've offered me. I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, practicing and experimenting in low risk environments like that with friends, family, with agreeable clients to help build that skill set, that confidence is really something. And taking that risk, right? Like this may fail, this may turn out horrible, but I just have to see. And there are a lot of times in life where we don't get that opportunity, right? We're always it's always high risk, or we're perceived to be high risk in those things that we're doing on new experiments, whether in business and in life. And I love how you approach your clients with that honesty of like, look, this is a service that I offer. This is my experience, and then kind of letting them decide. Is that how do they react to you when you say, okay, this is when you present them to that way?
Yeah. For most of my clients, everyone's been open with that idea. They're like, okay, I'm willing to try that. And actually some of them become recurring clients for me. It's like, okay, let's schedule my dog's next groom next month or in the next 6 weeks. Of course you'll get some that it's a little pushback, and I don't blame them because I can't do a specific groom. I can't do a specific breeds groom where it's like, well, I want this type of haircut for my dog. And it's like, well, I completely understand. And I also like the honesty too. It's like, no, no, thank you. So I do get that as well, which is understandable. But for the clients that I do offer those services and they would like for me to do it for them, they've been very open-minded and super thankful, like I said, for those clients who have allowed me and given me that opportunity.
How do you find pricing that kind of service? And where did you go to come up with an idea of what to charge for grooming, when you're still learning, it's kind of new to the area, but it is something that's earning you money. So how did you strike that balance?
Yeah. Balancing that out, it's more of like, well, I'm taking into account my experience, but I'm also taking into account as well the convenience and me going to them. So that's something else that I have to take into account where it's like, okay, well, yes, I'm learning. My grooms aren't coming out as bad as I thought they would be. So it's like, I'm doing a pretty good job. Yeah. I need to be able to come up with a rate that's appropriate for my client and for me offering these at-home grooming services. And I kind of used, online pet stores pricing versus other pet businesses that I would see around the area and kind of base it kind of midpoint there, find a midpoint. Again, just because of, coming from my experience, I'm not a top groomer right now.
You're going through this kind of this trial period with the grooming and you're gaining experience. Do you have an interest in pursuing more grooming school or just kind of, going with the flow to see where this eventually goes?
Yeah, I definitely want to get a certification in grooming because I want to master all the skills that I offer for services because that's my goal. I want to make sure I at least have that background. It's like, okay, I'm at least a certified groomer. I have that experience and I can at least offer those, more with confidence as well. It's like, okay, I can do this. So that it is something that I am planning on doing eventually as well. And another goal for myself was to get a mobile van. That is something that I potentially want to do, once I grow my business.
I definitely see an increasing need for mobile groomers in the industry and with people as the convenience factor, I think, starts to get priced into people's decision making. I know for Megan and myself, we have a dachshund and we live relatively busy lives. And even with just him, it's like, there's a lot that goes into that. And so when it comes to pricing those kind of things, that is a factor that we definitely have to remember, is that this is giving not just peace of mind, but it's helping that person's schedule. And at that point, they're making the decision of price versus time. And a lot of people make that decision for, my time is more valuable than what I'm paying for this because I could be doing other things, and it frees them up. And we tend to forget that kind of thing when we are coming out here with our prices and our services too.
Yeah, that's true. Again, everyone has busy lives, and on top of that, we need to make sure that our pets are taken care of. It's like, if I can help you, and like you said, have that convenience and peace of mind, I can come to you. You don't even have to worry about leaving your home. Or like I said, during a pet sitting visit or drop-in visit, hey, I can take care of this while I'm here as well.
Yeah. You've talked about your growth over the time that you've offered this is just amazing, that you moved into a new area and your brand new business, and you're over 100 clients and still getting requests. How have you managed that growth? How has that been for you and your schedule?
It's been a little hard, but I'm very well with managing my time and organizing things pretty well. Again, I mentioned before, I have a full-time job. So that's something that I'm really trying to implement for next year, is potentially hiring an employee. I think that's the biggest thing, because I've gotten to a point where I'm getting all these potential clients for pet sitting. I'm like, well, I can't keep up with this, and I need to take care of myself as well. I can't be working every single day. And that's been the biggest challenge, I would say, is making sure that I provide myself at least a day off, just because there's high demand, and keeping everything organized, making sure that I have all these type of services that I offer in my calendar, and be able to manage my time wisely, where, okay, this day I have a bath schedule and a few nail trims, but I also have a drop-in visit. Okay, who am I going to take care of first? What would be the appropriate time? And I also have to keep in mind the time it takes for each service. So that's been a little bit difficult, but I think I caught on, and just trying to manage, since I do cover certain areas in where I live, kind of, okay, today I'm going to tackle on this area of clients, and then tomorrow I'll hit this area of clients. And okay, now I have to keep in mind the time that it's going to take to drive to each client's home and actually do the services.
Yeah. You mentioned like the baths. I was thinking of that's not a service that we offer, but when we do bathe our own dog, I tend to think it doesn't take very long. But that's like time in the water. There's the preparation, then there's the cleanup, and then there's the everything else that's associated with that. How do you manage that when unexpected things come up, or a dog is more difficult than you expected for your day?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to keep that in mind, for especially when it's a new client, a new appointment. I don't really know how that's going to go. So I like to at least add an extra 20 to 30 minutes to each appointment slot, so that if anything happens, that way I am not behind on my next appointment that's scheduled after. But of course, things happen, and for the most part, it's just being transparent and communicating with all my clients. Hey there, I'm running a little bit late. This is what happened. I'll be there as soon as possible. And for the most part, everyone's been, super grateful that I'm keeping that communication between them and I. And with those time frames, it's actually been a huge learning experience for me too, when I started integrating grooming. Because now I'm like, okay, it's going to take this amount of time. Now I know it's going to take about an hour or two, but I also have to consider my cleanup time. So that's been, like I said, a huge learning experience, where now I'm just trying to think of my time frame.
Yeah.
And now that I'm doing this more often, I already have, kind of like an idea of how long it would take.
Yeah, and having that flexibility, not just with the range of service, but also how you book in between services, I know is something it's hard for me to remember. Of like, no, I need 50. I need space between these, because I have to physically get to that place. Like driving is not instant. when we learn to teleport, when I can buy that device, when Apple releases the teleportation device or whatever, then that's fine. We'll just schedule.
I'll be the first one to buy that.
So I can just teleport from client to client to client, and I'll save a lot of time. But the world reality is still here, and there's always that kind of fighting that desire to pack things in as close together to quote unquote optimize our time, when what we're actually doing is not living in reality. And that there's drive time, there's prep time, there's cleanup, there's all this stuff that I have to remember. And especially as we get busy, those gaps were like, oh, well, maybe I could make it in 11 minutes as opposed to 15. And you start.
I laugh because I know like what's going on in my head and your head.
Yeah. So it's something to remember. We fall into those traps of that, and I think that's always a good reminder to us of giving ourselves breathing room between visits, and as you said, even scheduling whole time off that you have, that's yours, that no one's going to schedule over.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest goals upcoming for 2022. I know I expect it to get a lot busier, and me growing my business and having that goal of hiring another employee is another thing to keep in mind. Just making sure that I manage my time wisely.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Chris Ann from Rating Cats and Dogs has this to say.
Becoming a Time to Pet client has been a game changer for us. We can give our pet services clients real-time, cloud-based information they never imagined they'd be interested in. And most importantly, to me personally, I can better manage my company and look forward to more. And not a small thing, Time to Pet is responsive to my requests for new features and modifications to existing ones.
If you are looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show can save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. Is that easy for you to take time off like that? Or do you kind of struggle to clear your calendar that way?
It's been a struggle. It definitely has been. But I'm trying to keep a reminder for myself for next year. I actually started to block off times now for my future schedule in the month, because I know it's important. We have to take care of ourselves, and I physically already added those time slots in my calendar of like no appointments, day off. So that's definitely going to help, because if I try to do that in that moment of I'm already hitting January, it's going to be impossible for me to do that.
Yeah, it will, because I said one of the best things, if you want to be busy, block off a weekend, and you will get more requests for that time than you would have ever imagined. It's like people can sense it; they come out of the woodwork searching for your time.
Right, that's how it works.
It is. One thing that I noticed is that you are very active on social media and Facebook with posts and with videos, especially. Is that something that came naturally to you, getting in front of the camera and talking about your services and talking about what you do, or did that have to kind of develop as you've grown?
That's definitely developed. I did not like the idea of it. I was very shy, but at the end of the day, when I actually started creating these videos, it's more of like, okay, it doesn't really matter of how I look, what I say. People don't care about that. It's more of the content and the information that I'm providing. So, you know what? I took the initiative. This is what I love to do. This is my passion. I'm going to start these videos and just show off everything that I know, like provide this information, these tips, these, videos of what I do during my day, especially with all the type of services that I offer. I want to show that to anyone who looks at my page or anyone who looks at my Instagram page, like, oh, like this is what she does. That's pretty cool. So it wasn't in the beginning where I was super comfortable, but it is definitely gotten a lot better. And it's something that I've enjoyed now doing.
That idea of viewing them as an educational opportunity for people, I think is for us, at least, is a good motivating factor to get us in front of the camera of like, I have things that I can share and help somebody. And if it's my clients, if it's a new client, they can get to know me a little bit better. I always find that is at least something for me that helps me press record and get in front of the camera and go, okay, this will help somebody. And then you're off to the races.
Yeah. And funny thing is, like, I actually had a client who mentioned to me, she's like, hey, I saw one of your videos. I had no idea what anal glands are. Like, I've never heard of that before. It's like, oh, like, yeah, not a lot of people know. It's like, and you have to think about it. It's like a lot of things that right away for you, it's like, oh, that's common sense. Everyone should know that. But it's like, no, actually, they don't. It's like, why not put that out there and teach them something new?
Yeah. Where do you come up with ideas to share, and what's that process like? Because I know sometimes I can sit there and go, it's Tuesday, I should post. I don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, it's more of it kind of helps with my background as a vet tech. Okay. Because I bring tips like, oh, did you know about this about your pet? Or did you hear about the latest news on this? Or preventatives, the best preventatives that you can give your pet. But it is a little bit hard to come up with ideas like every day, but it's come down to, hey, I want to just kind of show off what I do. So I'm going to show off what I do every single day. And for the most part, it's just content that teaches people. I'm actually taking care of a puppy right now. I'm pet sitting him for about a week and a half, and I am actually continuing his training for my home. I'm showing him commands, like basic commands, while his mom and dad are away. And, it's like, perfect. This is something that I can show everyone, what I'm up to, what I'm doing with him. And it's actually been amazing, a learning experience for me and for the dog and for clients who are watching my videos.
Yeah, I think when we struggle with ideas, yeah, absolutely. We turn to what we do and go, what do I do in a day? Because you know what? Nobody knows what I do. I can share these little things, and especially those quick pet tips. Because when we sit down, when we start talking about sharing content or educating people, we may overcomplicate it a lot of times. I'm like, great, I've got to write a 500-word essay on this with literature cited and my own photos and put this big production together. And you're like, you know what? Or you just jump in front of the camera and say, hey, did you know about this and this? Okay, great. Thanks. And this is me, and have a good day and just be done with it. And it's those short things. It's that kind of fast hitting information that a lot of pet parents are going to be able to consume too a lot easier. And they're seeing your face and your literal voice. So they're getting to know you. And again, it's all about familiarity and trust that they start gaining with you.
Right. And it's been great too with those clients who their pet during that time is in my care. They can follow up and see, oh, like this is what they're up to today. And this is amazing. And I've been in contact with my current client who I'm taking care of her dog, and she's loved it. She's like, sees all the pictures and videos, and she's like, well, the dog's not going to want to come home anymore. So it's been great. And even it's like you said, it's the little things where, well, actually you think about, they don't know what I'm doing. What's dog walking, or what are drop-in visits? So it's like putting that content out there, because you know that, like, I already know what I do in my day, but like, what if someone's interested and they have no idea what a drop-in visit is or what I do during a drop-in visit? So it's like, okay, why not put that out there?
Yeah. Yeah. And two, on top of that, not just saying it once, it's something that you get to share over and over and over again too, in new, different ways with different dogs and different situations. Coupled with there's so much variety there that I feel like too many times we get stuck in, well, I've shared it one time, so check, instead of like, okay, well, I can show it this way or do this way, or I can, repost this next year and reuse that same content.
Yeah, I would agree to that. It's like, well, it's the same thing that you're doing, but you can share it in a different way too. It's like, well, and people love that. People love that variety. It's like, okay, I know I've seen a dog walk before, but it's like, okay, like, what else do you do during the dog walk? Well, you can also do continuing training. It's like, hey, I'm teaching this dog not to pull on the leash, or learn how to sit before, we get to the end of the sidewalk. Little things like that to consider to change your content as well.
I'm sure, this year has been a huge year of growth for you and a lot of learning for. I'm sure there's been some challenges too. What are some things that you didn't expect to see?
I would have to say it's been a little bit hard with the demand and keeping up with that, and just having the mentality to please everyone or be able to offer these services to everyone. Yeah. Right. Because I'm only one person. I can only do so much. That's been one of the biggest challenges, as well as not having the, for example, like grooming. I don't have a mobile van. I don't have the amazing equipment that a lot of groomers might have or a mobile van might have. That's been, a challenge for me, but finding a way to kind of work through that has been the best thing to do. It's like, well, if I can find a solution right now, then that's perfect. It's going to work out. And it has been. Right now I'm offering these grooming services where I have all my materials. I have a little grooming table that I bring, my blow dryer, my grooming, like clippers and anything that I need. And I found a little solution to it right now. But it is a goal eventually to get a van.
Yeah. When I hear that, I hear this. I'm content with what I have now, but I'm still dreaming for something better. And too oftentimes we focus all of our attention on the what ifs, or maybe in the future, or and we get kind of dissatisfied with where we are. And so how do you walk that line between knowing that you want something better, but also looking at what you have and going, this is sufficient for right now, and my clients are happy, and I'm able to get the job done.
Right. That's the biggest thing is everyone's content. Everyone's happy. I'm happy with where I'm at right now. I know I have those future goals for myself because I know I can provide, these services for my clients, but it would make my job a lot easier eventually if I end up getting a van. But it's just more realizing, okay, I'm in the moment right now. Everything has been working out great. All of my clients have loved the services that I've provided, and nothing has changed with my actual vision. My goals for my business is providing that peace of mind, that trust, the convenience, and nothing of that has been affected with what I'm doing right now.
That's really great to hear, to know the mission is still there and I'm still providing quality service. It's just going to look different whenever I get that van. So I got to ask, what kind of van are you looking for? What is it going to look like?
I actually have already pictured it. I've already had it pictured in my head. It's going to be a nice, those nice big Mercedes vans, black in color with my logo. I already know the stuff that's going to be included inside. It's like, I've done that research. It's just, I'm waiting to take the plunge where it's going to be it's like, okay, I'm in this moment. I think I'm going to do this. And I will get there eventually. But at the moment, like I said, it's just, things have been working out great. Let's just keep moving forward.
Yeah. And not jumping the gun. And sometimes that can be hard to go, and it's not yet. It's not time. It's not time. It's not time yet. We've got to wait a little bit longer. It's that waiting where we can get, sometimes, I know me at least, I guess I'm just talking for myself, you get a little impatient and be like, okay, let's do it now. And it's like, no, I'm not ready. The business isn't ready. My schedule's not ready. Finances aren't ready. We've got to wait a little bit on this, because when we wait, it's actually going to end up better for us, our schedule, and our business, because we'll be better prepared for it. It's just knowing how long to wait and what that looks, and that's different for everybody. So kind of having that plan and knowing these certain checkpoints is really good.
Yeah. And that was the biggest thing for me. It's like, well, let's plan this out. What would be the best thing to do at the moment financially? And, just being able to offer the services that I offer. And is this going to work out for now? And it has been.
Yeah. How do you approach planning for things like that? Because I don't think that that's something that many people do well. When you come up to projecting, looking towards the future, how do you approach kind of more long-term planning for you?
It would be more of, I'd have to say, just setting out the main goal. Like right now, my main goal is to get a mobile van. All right. But what are those small goals that I can achieve right now to get to that point? And my biggest challenge right now that I have for myself is just gaining more of that grooming experience, because I want to make sure that I feel 100% happy. It's like, okay, I'm certified. I'm a certified groomer. I'm good to go. I would want to achieve that first before getting a mobile grooming van. That way, at least I've achieved these small little goals before I get to that big one.
Yeah, kind of proving at each step that it's going to work, right? And having those checkpoints of like, okay, I'm going to make it to this, and this is where I'll be. And then I'm going to have other things to move. And just working through that plan, obviously being able to adapt and change as things come up. Nothing is set in stone, thankfully.
And
having that flexibility. But then, okay, I can work this, and it becomes manageable once it gets all down on a list or on paper for you.
Right. Yeah. And it's a challenge. It's not easy, and I'm sure, too, it's like, well, things can change and you have to be ready for that, making those adjustments. And I think that's a big thing with a lot of businesses too, with COVID. I started when COVID hit, so I don't really know, for businesses who already were in business during that time and how they were affected. I kind of just jumped in right when COVID hit. So it's very important for you to adjust, with things changing all the time, because it happens. It's life.
Yeah. Well, and on that, you jumped in the middle of COVID when a lot of things were completely melting down, and in like one of the most insecure moments in our history, of at least memorable history for generations. That kind of thing really does impact, how you make decisions and how you view the world. We
Right.
that really forged a lot of your expectations too. And how you make decisions and how you plan those are skills that many people who open businesses in more prosperous times or less stressful times or more predictable times, they had to, that was experience that they had to eventually gain. But, for
Right.
many people like yourself who started in 2020, 2021, that just becomes part of the game, right? And that's how you run your business and how you plan.
Yeah. And that's still like something I keep in mind. It's like, okay, we still have COVID, it's still going around. So you still have to make those adjustments for clients. It's like, hey, I always like to make sure, okay, face mask protection. I always like to make sure, hey, are you okay with me coming into your home? It's still those adjustments that I like to think about and offer. It's like, hey, if you're not okay with me coming into your home to do a quick nail trim, we can still do it outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that flexibility and, again, meeting those clients' needs, which are totally different now than they were 5 years ago or even 2 years ago, right where they are, and knowing, okay, this is just how I operate. These are just the questions that I ask. Most of us who were in the industry for, before COVID, we had to learn to ask those questions. That was like, I forgot to do the thing and blah, blah. And it's like, oh, this is just second nature now. This is just how we operate.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, it's like, well, I just kind of jumped in and you adapt to that. And that's all I know right now at the moment.
I think that's a really big strength. And I hope you know that. That's going to be a really big strength for you moving forward, especially with all the plans that you have.
Yes. Thank you.
Thinking about your experience and what you're learning about the pet care industry, what would you say makes a great pet sitter and pet care provider?
I think my biggest thing is having that transparency, and keeping all your clients up to date with everything that's going on. For me, my biggest thing is when I do offer pet sitting, especially since I work from home, it's been making it a lot easier for me to give that peace of mind to my clients, because I work from home. So I spend the night and I spend the entire day with my clients' pets. So they know that they're going to be taken care of most of the day. And I'm making sure that I'm sending them updates, not just a picture of their dog and that's it, making sure, hey, they did eat today, especially if it's the first night, how that night went. By the way, they were a little bit distant or they didn't want to eat their dinner, giving in an update on that. And, having that transparency, if anything happens during that time, making sure that I communicate with my clients right away.
And communicating the bad news is always so hard. I don't like having to send those updates, but the one of the reasons we were hired to help that pet is because the pet parent trusted us to tell them both good and bad news. It's not just all puppy kisses and cuddles all the time. They trust us enough to tell them when things are bad, and I have to remind myself. And we have to remind ourselves that, I know they threw up. I'm not just going to clean it up and pretend it didn't happen. I've got to take that picture and I've got to send it to them, because they need to know that, because they're not here, because they would know it if they were, but I have to be their eyes and ears for their pet.
Yeah. I would agree. It's like, hey, I love that actually happened to me. I left some bananas on the counter. I didn't really think that the dogs would get into that, and they ate about 4 or 5 bananas. So it's like, making sure that I'm updating my client. Hey, by the way, this is what happened. Thankfully nothing happened because they were just bananas, but I told my client right away, hey, this is what happened. The dog seemed to be fine. With my vet tech experience, I already know the signs to watch for. So I was communicating with my client back and forth during that day. Hey, by the way, they're still doing fine, no vomiting or diarrhea. And even little things like you said, the dog puked a little bit. And, I'm still going to send them a picture and let them know what happened, even if it's nothing bad. But just making sure we're transparent in that way.
Yeah. Transparency. I absolutely love that word. And I see it in, how you're doing the social media posts and the videos and then the upfront notification of your experience and what that means for clients. And I think that's just a really honest, upfront way that clients really see and they respect, right? They don't need smoke in mirrors. They just want to know the facts so that they can because you're trusting them to give them the relevant information and to make a proper decision and leaving it at that. There's no tricks. There's nothing involved. This is who I am. This is my business. This is what I can provide, and leaving it at that and knowing, okay, they're going to make that decision based on what they see and being okay with that. And that's really what a lot of that transparency is about.
Right. Yeah. And especially if you're staying at a client's home, it's you have to also, communicate, hey, 4 or 5 hours go by, what's going on. You'll also have to learn. It's a learning experience. There's going to be those clients who would appreciate not to have any messages for a while. But, even then I still like to kind of send an update. Hey, this is what's going on. Even then, if I don't get a reply back sometimes, which I don't blame them, they're on vacation. But, I still like to do that. And like you said, the transparency is very, very important because then that will keep those recurring clients.
Yeah, well, it's the communication too, and then just like the cold business fact of it, it's kind of like a documentation of how things are going and progressing. So if there are any questions or concerns or follow-ups, you can scroll back and see timestamp photos and see things that were sent and say, hey, this is how this is how it went. So it's kind of also a way to protect our business as well. It kind of feels weird to think about it in that way, but it's a yes and situation. It's yes, we are being transparent and providing this information to clients, and I'm also protecting myself and my business.
Right. Yeah. It goes both ways. And at the end of the day, it helps your clients and it helps your business.
You've learned a lot in your time. What advice would you like to share with other pet care providers or resources that you enjoy that you would like more people to know about?
I would really recommend, and it's something that I'm still learning, is using your social media platforms to connect with people, because there's so many free sources out there. You have Facebook, you have Instagram. One of the biggest thing that I've just started getting into is LinkedIn. Yeah. LinkedIn's going to, get a lot more people on, and it's going to get very popular, and it's going to possibly take over. So that's one of the biggest things that I recommend any pet care owner or anyone in the business is finding those resources and those free resources. That's most important. It's free. So take advantage of it. And the amount of reach that you can get is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you decide what content to share across those platforms? Or are you kind of picking and choosing, or is it kind of all similar at this point?
It depends. With Instagram, it's more of like sharing, videos. Facebook's more content with sometimes more educational tips and pictures. But with LinkedIn, it's a little bit more of that professional look. And, I do end up changing my content here and there a little bit for each platform, because, there are different clients for each platform. That's something that I've also started learning. Like, okay, well, I have specific clients who go on Facebook only. And then I have maybe just more of a younger generation who are on Instagram. And it's kind of having those adjustments to your content is important too.
You said that word professional. Do you see yourself as a professional in pet care and in grooming?
I do. I do see myself as a professional. Yeah. A pet care business owner, anything, however you like to say it. I do see myself.
Are those words weird to you? Because I know they were weird to me whenever I started thinking of myself as a business owner, and as a professional. I was like, oh, that seems kind of weird. That's not. It took me a little while to figure that out about who I was.
Yeah, I would agree. In the beginning, I was like, well, it's just, these are the services I do. And it's like, well, no, it's like, well, I made my business official now. It's like, well, I'm a business owner. These I'm a professional, it's like, I'm still trying to adjust to the professional groomer, just because again, I'm still trying to perfect that. But I mean, eventually, it's like, well, yes, I'm a professional pet groomer.
Yeah. You've talked about a lot of your goals, about the van, possibly hiring somebody, going full time. What else are you looking for in the future, maybe longer term for you in this?
Longer term, I actually want to connect with commercial services. So I actually listened to one of your podcasts. I'm not really quite sure what episode it was, but someone recommended contacting hotels and offering dog walking services and drop-in visits for potential clients who are staying at hotels. So that's one of my biggest achievements that I'm going to get for next year. And actually just started contacting a few hotels right now. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing for next year.
Yeah, those partnerships are so valuable. And many times when you contact them, you'll get people who go, "Oh, that's an amazing idea. Yeah, let's try and figure that out." It may take some convincing for people to work on. I know some other things that people are working on, or as companies are trying to retain more employees, they're looking for benefits to offer people. So if you have small to medium-sized businesses with a couple employees, pitch your services to them to say, "Hey, add this as a benefit. People work for you. They get discounted pet care services." As a benefit to them, and you can kind of see if there's a market for that too, as people look to retain the talent that they have, that you can help them in that too.
Right. Yeah. And that's a great idea. I actually didn't think about the employees of the hotels. So that's a great idea. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. I see there's just so much potential, and there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon to take advantage of as we try and make our mark and make the business our own, and again, to kind of continue to change the industry and improve it for not just us, but for everybody.
Right. And the biggest thing is like reaching those pets that are in need. It's like, we're all busy. We all have busy lives, but we can't forget about our pets.
No, not at all. Gricel, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your journey, and encouraging us with your growth and everything that you have moving on into the future. I know there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of things that you would like to share and get connected with as well. So how can people get in touch with you, follow along with your business, and start getting connected?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, I have my Facebook page. It's Arroyo Pet. It's ARROYO PET for pets. So it's Arroyo Pet. I have that on my Facebook group, my Instagram, LinkedIn on top of that too. But I am also great with text message. People can contact me through phone, email, whatever works best for them. So I'm all over.
Yeah. Carrier pigeon. Do you accept that yet? Maybe.
Yeah. Right. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Another goal for next year, maybe.
Yes. There you go.
No, Gricel, I can't thank you enough. I've really enjoyed this conversation and learning from you and hearing about all the great things that you have working on. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, of course. No, it's my pleasure. Thank you. And I really do appreciate this opportunity. It's been a great, a phenomenal experience for me. Thank you so much.
Is it easy for you to be in the moment? I know it is really difficult for me. Being in the moment means that we aren't just being present. We aren't thinking about the things that are in front of us. Being in the moment also means embracing the situations that we are in and being thankful for them. As Gricel talked about, she is completely content with her ability to conduct and run her business right now, and yet at the same time, dreams for things in the future. That is something that I believe that we should all strive for. Being happy and content with what we have right now, while at the same time knowing that we can do things better in the future. But this is what we have right now. Being in the moment, being present, being thankful for the things that we have around us, for the business that is supporting us and our staff if we have them. Because then we never feel pressured into making decisions that we'd rather not. And we don't feel like we have to move forward with something just because we've already come so far. When you are content and happy with what you have, it means that you don't have to make rash and quick and hurried decisions because you've got to change to something new and better. I know that's something that I am definitely needing to work on in 2022. we'd like to thank our sponsor for today's episode, Time to Pet. And we really want to thank you for listening. We hope you are having a wonderful week, and we'll be back again soon.